Summer holidays means more time spent around water, whether it's at beaches, lakes, rivers, or even pools. It's also a time of increased drownings, with a number of incidents already recorded over the last few weeks. The National Sea Rescue Institute continues to be on high alert. Spokesperson Craig Lambinon joins me now to update on the latest. Thanks for joining me this afternoon, Craig. At least 7 drownings across the country. This has to be of concern.
Yeah, this is a absolute tragedy. A number of drownings around the coast yesterday, but I think in particular at Kenton-on-Sea, where 3 female children drowned. They were sadly declared deceased despite extensive CPR efforts that were conducted, and a young child, a male child, remains missing there. Police divers are continuing in that ongoing search operation. But it has been a tragedy, and again, we appeal to the public for that safety-conscious mindset around water at all times.
Now, is this number greater than what we usually see over the festive period, or is this sort of the approximate or the average of drownings over the festive season?
Yeah, unfortunately, with drowning accidents, there's no pattern. You can't compare one year to the next. What the NSRI has done, we've compiled a national statistic that's taken over a number of years that shows that there are more drowning accidents inland than there are along the coast, and that children remain the greatest at risk to drowning accidents. But that, however, having said that, yesterday's tragedies around South Africa on the 1st of January is cause for concern. We are now also heading into the springtide, the full moon springtide. This time it's a micro moon, meaning the moon will be furthest away from the earth, and that will obviously create the usual higher than normal high tide, lower than normal low tide, and where rip currents can be stronger than normal in places. And we appeal to the public to only swim at beaches that are protected by lifeguards, and in between the lifeguards, safe demarcated swimming zones that they post. But also anglers fishing along the shoreline should be aware of the spring tide, where the high tide comes up higher than normal at their usual fishing spots. And they might not be aware of that. And that is causing us concern at this time. And it peaks on the 6th of January.
For how long will the spring tide be present? I know you said it peaks at the 6th of Jan. Thereafter, what happens?
Yeah, so anyone around the coast will notice that from today already, the high tide will start to gradually creep up higher than normal and retreat to lower than normal. That's going to continue to grow in intensity until the 6th of January, and then it'll start to subside. Usually about 3, 4, or 5 days, you'll notice that spring tide generally returns to a normal tide. And then, of course, later on in the month, we've got the new moon spring tide. And this happens every month, that you get the 2 spring tides. And then bear in mind also every day, there are 2 high tides and 2 low tides. And all of these factors have to be taken into account when you're going to swim around the coast or fishing along the shoreline. Those kinds of things need to be taken into account. Obviously, the lifeguards are looking out for that. They're there for your safety. They've done an incredible job over the December vacation season. They can be applauded for the thousands of incidents that they've intervened in, that have saved people's, before they got into difficulty, intervened in assist operations. And hence our urgent appeal to the public to be extremely cautious around our coastline, but also to go to swim at beaches where the lifeguards are on duty. And of course, for parents to ensure that their children have responsible adult supervision in and around water, inland and coastal.
Craig, just taking you back to the drownings, do we know what's at the root cause of the drownings? Is it people just taking their familiarity around water for granted? Is it a lack of education? What is it? So,
sadly, it does appear that most of these accidents have occurred outside of the lifeguard-protected areas. So that is obviously something that we know already. If the public are adhering to that appeal, that is something that can be avoided immediately. Obviously, condolences are conveyed to those families. There are some cases where families are still missing loved ones from drowning accidents. Our thoughts remain with them. but we appeal to the public to be aware that rip currents remain the greatest cause of drowning around our coast. On inland waters, as swift rivers trying to cross over a river that's under flood, or in lakes and dams venturing too deep into the water. But even your swimming pool at home must have a cloak of safety around it. And obviously, parents, please ensure that your children have responsible adult supervision. The supervisor mustn't be distracted by cell phone conversation or by a chat around the braai or the lunch table. They need to physically watch children while they're in the water swimming, because drowning is silent. A person simply slips underwater unannounced, and that's why vigilance is key.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Craig. That was NSRI spokesperson Craig Lambinon, really giving us some safety tips, especially if you're going to be around bodies of water.